Thank you so much. I'll kindly request you to do the swearing process.
Thank you very much. I, Michael Madiro, swear that the evidence that I will give is the truth, the whole truth and nothing else but the truth. So help me God.
I, Patrick Mashita, do swear that the evidence that I will give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing else but the truth. So help me God.
I, Pima Zinyani, will swear that the evidence that I will give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing else but the truth. So help me God.
Thank you very much. Let me begin by saying we're very disappointed. We were very disappointed the last time we called you to Parliament and you just sent one representative, who is Mr. Mashita, the Chief Finance Officer. And on that day, he turned out to be the General Manager as well. In the morning, he had introduced himself as the Chief Finance Officer. I think Parliament business should be taken serious. When we call you to Parliament, we expect you to come. He was unable to tell us where the GM was on that day. He was actually shaking and lied to us that he was the acting GM for that day. We don't take that lightly. Yes, you can.
Thank you, ma'am. Honorable Brian, I want to unreservedly apologize to this committee for that incident. And we would like to assure you that that will never happen again. We actually had a strategic planning workshop where we had already paid the consultant through Matapa. So when we got the invitation, we actually communicated that our CFO is going to attend because we had already covered part of the strategy. So we thought that it was acceptable, but nonetheless, that is not an excuse. We really respect this, the deliberations of Parliament. And going forward, if it means that we postpone even the strategy or any other such meeting to dates to be advised, then that will be, we once again sincerely apologize. It's not like we take the meeting for granted, no. It's because maybe we thought that it was acceptable and we communicated and we were not advised that that was not possible. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Joseph. I think the apology is noted. And also, if you have the pressing issues, I'm not sure how the communication works. You know, maybe we could have sought to postpone the meeting, because the reason why we want the entity to be represented at the highest level is because these are accountability issues, and the chief accounting officer must be there, and also the board, so that when we deal with these issues, there is no back and forth. And like what the Honorable said, he came and he couldn't say, because he could have just said you are engaged. But like what he said, first he lied that he was the acting general manager. Then we asked him, where is the general manager? He couldn't say. Are you general manager only for this session? Then he said yes. You know, so there was another general manager somewhere and another general manager who was dispatched to act at Parliament, and we thought that he was not serious. But I think let's just proceed. The report chair wanted to come in, you know, but when you're expressing commitment, let's communicate. We can always accommodate each other, because we also want you to continue with the work, but the accountability issues in Parliament must also be taken seriously.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I want to assure this esteemed committee that we take Parliament business very seriously. We are obliged to respond to the representative of the people, and without saying too much about housekeeping issues within our organization, I want to assure this esteemed committee that going forward we will respond accordingly.
Thank you very much. Let's go to our business of the day. In September, there was an outbreak of fire at NRZ, and it was a sudden event for the whole country. We are sorry about that, but as a committee, we would want to find out what progress you've made so far in investigating the recent suspected fire outbreak at your premises. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Madam. Yes, there was an outbreak of fire at the NRZ premises. As soon as we realized that there was fire, we engaged the police, forensic department. We also had to do a commission of inquiry within the NRZ. And also, we also asked our loss control and security department to also do their independent investigation. The reason why we had to take those options was because we wanted to pursue every possibility that could have caused the fires and ensure that going forward such is avoided. The fire destroyed our decommissioned passenger coaches that were parked at the NRZ workshops. The initial report that I got from loss control, as well as the report that I got from the commission of inquiry that we said constituted of different departments of NRZ, has indicated that it could be the fire was as a result of some employees, because we don't allow people to smoke at work. Some employees could have taken shelter in those coaches, trying to hide and smoking a bit, and that one of them may have left a stub that was still burning, and then because there was a little bit of wind, it then resulted in the spread of fire. The fire was noted when about 2 coaches it caught fire then. But we then immediately called the city of Bulawayo. But because of some challenges in terms of water in Bulawayo, there's a challenge of water. It took time for them to put off the fire. Also, the coaches were packed on the same area, about 9 lines at the coaches, so it also resulted in the burning of about 40 of our decommissioned coaches. Thank you. That is the updates that I have for now. We are still waiting for the report from the police forensics, but I can advised that they've already come to Bulawayo and made some investigations and everything, and we are awaiting their final report, so that we can then compare the 3 reports. But so far, the 2 reports that we have pointed out to that, because there is no possibility of an outsider, especially in Bulawayo, because the area is well secured, only employees have access to that area. Thank you.
Okay, so because on the 19th of September, the board issued a statement on the file where they were suspecting power play. And the same sentiment also that were expressed by the Zimbabwe Amalgamated Railways Workers Union on their statement. And it appears that the preliminary result that you had points to something else. So maybe the question is, first, in terms of value, what is the loss? And secondly, maybe from the board, why together with workers think that there's a foul play instead of just an incident of the worker who is smoking and causing fire. So we just want to know what exactly made them, the board and the workers, to conclude that there could be possibility of sabotage and foul play.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Chair. The board probably on a reasonable basis suspected the pattern. You remember that was not only the law incident. Within a day, I think, or just after 24 hours, was a similar incident also in Harare. And the pattern seemed to suggest that it cannot be coincidental. And given the fact that there had been some statements in the social media against NRZ in terms of its assets lying around, we thought that someone wanted to make a point. And to suspect that it could be, I'm not saying what the gentleman is saying is wrong, that is a probability. But we fully suspected that it could not be coincidental that we have an incident now, and immediately after that, we have another one in Harare. And given the limited capacity we have in terms of investigation resources and expertise, complementing the management as a board, we brought the highest level in the security sector, the Minister of Home Affairs, for example, to coordinate a properly constituted investigation to make sure that we eliminate any possible sabotage, so that going forward we're able to secure the public assets.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Yeah, my supplementary is, I want to know how the board and the management operates. If the board had seemingly different reports from what we just got from, do you get your reports from management, or the board just said and just decided to say, no, this is what we think, there is power play? Did you get any briefing from management before you issued that statement? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I don't think there is a difference if you follow what he said. Following subsequent initial investigation, that's when they are suspecting that it could be a stamp from a cigarette. But when you formulated this initial view, we communicated with management, and we concluded, particularly me as the chair and the GM, we discussed this matter, and we concluded that there could be sabotage involved. And for me to write to the Minister of Home Affairs, it was upon discussion with the general manager, and the general manager who drafted the draft for the letter which I want to do. So we liaise, and I don't think there's a contradiction. He's saying subsequent investigations are indicating a possible stamp from
that is noted. But you raised the issue of the Harare incident, right? And how I think that was the basis of you concluding that they could be foul play. Yes, we accept maybe the initial investigation, Blawai points to a cigarette. What about in Harare? Was the same person smoking a cigarette Blawai after having made a mistake in Harare? Is there an attempt to investigate the Harare incident also so that we can see how it links with the Blawai one? And the second, the commission of inquiry, has it started its work? Has it finished? Do you have a preliminary report that you can submit? Because we are worried because these are public assets, and rightfully, like what the board chair said, we can't have a fire in Harare the following day in Blawai, and so we need to have clarity if the commission has a preliminary report so that we can have sight of that report. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Wayne, for the questions. There is a question that you asked earlier about the value of the assets that were destroyed, the lost value because of the fire. The value that was lost is minimal, very minimal, because during the time when NRZ was operating passenger train, we had taken the seats from these coaches, and they were fitted to those that were operational. So these were more like shells that were packed with the intention to either refurbish them in the future or dispose them. The value that was there was only the scrap value of the assets, which scrap I examined the coaches one by one myself. They are still in a condition where we can dispose them as scrap matter. So in terms of the lost value, those coaches in our books were carrying a value of about $1,000 US each, because they were just shells. So once we dispose, because we have already recommended disposal of the coaches together with other scrap metals that is lying system-wide. So once we do the disposal, we ascertain the actual loss of value that we suffered as a result of fire. But from our initial assessment, it seems to be very, very minimal. Then in terms of what caused the fire in Harare. In Harare, maybe if I can give a bit of some background of these coaches. We used to stable the coaches at the station, where these were some of the coaches that we're using for Suko. And generally, the stabling of the coaches, the space that is available for stabling of coaches is the one that is close to the Harare station. But we were having a problem with people of no fixed abode who were then trying to take some shelter in those coaches. We made quite a lot of arrests because of those who were trespassing, about 154 cases that were taken to the police. Some were prosecuted, some were made to pay fines at the police. But we then realized that it was giving a toll to our security officers. So we then moved all the other coaches to Lokinva for safekeeping, which is far from town. But those three that were left in Harare, they had quite a number of challenges. They needed to be attended to by mechanics. So instead of buying the space that were required to fix them so that we could move them to Lokinva, a decision was made to defer their movement to River so that we can deploy resources elsewhere where they could generate more money. So those are the three that were affected by arson. And again, in as much as our security is doing their rounds on a daily basis, there are incidences where they miss the people and they get into the coaches. And the suspicion from both loss control and the Commission of Inquiry is that it could be some of those vandals that could have caused the fire. Again, when fire was detected in the first coach, we engaged the city of Harare. But by the time they arrived at the scene, we had already lost the 3 coaches that were packed. So in Harare, we lost 3 coaches. The report for the commission.
Maybe the value also of the 3 coaches in Harare.
Yes, it's all the answer is almost the same with those in Hawaii. Because we had coaches in Harare. These ones were not part of those that were under SUP. These ones were the RR, what we call the RR coaches, Rhodesia Railways. So they were quite advanced in age. And again, their seats and other values was really removed from the coaches. So what was burned again were the shells. The reason why they were catching fire is because there is an old carpet that was fitted when they were procured. So that could easily allow the fire to spread. But in terms of value, the comment is almost the same with those in Blawan. They were tabled there in the early 2000, I think. The 3, they were tabled there early 2000 and they were never repaired. So again, they are now on the list of assets to be disposed, considering the trend that we are having in passenger trains, where we now have advanced and more modern passenger coaches. Even if we are to reintroduce passenger train, we don't foresee us using these coaches anymore. So we would rather dispose those that are not functional, and those that are functional are the ones that we can keep for now. So we are taking to the board in next board meeting to let them disposed. The Commission of Inquiry report, yes, the draft is actually the final draft was submitted to my office on Friday. So I have the report in my office. Yes, it can be shared with this esteemed committee for their review and reference. It is available together with the loss control report that I referred to earlier. What is outstanding is the report from the forensic department, from the police, so that we can close the matter. And also share the findings of the 3 investigating committees with the board for a final decision to be made.
So when can you submit the 2 reports?
We can have them submitted once we get back to the office. We can have them printed at the end of day today or tomorrow. They can be submitted.
Okay, so we can say by end of day Wednesday.
Yes, thank you.
So supply 2 copies and also soft copies.
Well noted, sir.
Yes, Honorable Strong.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Chair. I want to ask, were these assets insured?
Thank you. The assets, we do our self-insurance. They are not insured by any insurance company. They used to be insured, self-insured, and whatever damage that we used to suffer in the past was submitted to government, and government would pay for any loss that would have been suffered. But the last payment that we received, I think it was around 2000, in the early 2000. Since then, we have not. I'm advised that we submitted quite a number of claims, but I think because of limited resources on the side of government, we haven't received any claims for any accident that affects the NRZ assets.
So you mean all your all your assets are self-assured?
Thank you. And maybe for clarity to say, you say how many coaches were destroyed in July?
40.
Not 44.
The other 4 were destroyed by fire in 2015, and they were moved from where they were parked to this supposedly safe area. So they had already been destroyed by fire in 2015.
On this one,
okay. Honorable, will you take us through the next question?
No. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Your assets. Do you have an asset register? That will be the first question, because it appears that your assets are lying all over, and it could be possible that you, from the reports, media reports, that you might not be aware of all your assets. There are claims that some people are leasing properties from NRZ, which you can't account, and obviously you can't appeal such properties to the Auditor General. So that will be the first question. Then we will then also give you a list of the documents that we need you at that list, so that you can submit it also probably when you submit the other documents. So maybe I will first highlight the documents that we would require from you. We need a detailed report on regional basis, regional offices highlighting the residential and commercial properties being used by NRZ. Then you must then, in that same report, show us the amounts that have been paid by the tenants and the arrears, and also the length of the lease agreements, so that we can then have a look into that. Then, so these are the documents that we require from you. Maybe we'll indicate when you respond, when can you supply this document so that we can complete our inquiry. Then we have the issue of Victoria Falls, where we understand that you have some properties that are being leased by some 2 individuals that we will not name, and there is nothing that is coming to your coffers as NRZ, and some people from your office have privately sought assistance to get these properties back to NRZ. Maybe you can shed some light on people, which properties do you have, which properties do you have control of, and which properties you don't have control, or they are being used by people that are not emitting any revenue to NRZ. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Honorable Andre, for the questions. Firstly, you asked about the asset register. Yes, we have an asset register in place, and that can be shared as well with this respected committee for your perusal and reference. The allegations that NRZ cannot account for its properties. We have heard about this for some time. What we have done as NRZ is that in 2022, after realizing that we could have lost some properties during the period in the 1990 something to 2000, when there was that process of selling houses to sitting tenants, where most of our employees and other people benefited through the, it is normally in NRZ it is referred to as vertical whatever. So there are some people who were given offer letters but never paid for the properties. That is number one. And number two, there are some people who were leasing NRZ properties who may have taken advantage of that whole process, the confusion that was there, and also continued staying in NRZ properties. So what we have done is, in liaison with the city of Bulawayo and other councils, and also with the deeds office and our internal estates, as well as looking at our asset register, we formed a committee that is called the Estates Verification Committee. That committee went from region to region looking for NRZ properties, following up on every property that is on the asset register, even those that were allegedly disposed, and looking at the documents, disposal documents, comparing the notes that we have and those that the tenants had. And through that process, yes, we managed to recover on the north line, mainly what we call the north line, the south line, I mean the Beitbridge Bulawayo line, which is being leased by BBR under a concession. We recovered quite a lot of properties because when that agreement was done, it seems like no one then followed up on how the properties were going to operate. So we then had to recover our properties. Yeah, it was not an easy process, but we managed to. And I can confirm to this house that the properties that we recovered in West Nicholson, Guani, and other areas along that line, we are currently collecting rentals amounting to about $40,000 a month. We may have missed one or two because in some, one of them, it took us to court. They had an agreement where a portion was sold to the late father, and then they took the whole area. So we went to court, but they dropped some of their claims after realizing that we also knew that they did not purchase part of that. Then in Bulawayo itself, we managed to recover about 4 houses that were also occupied by other tenants. The exercise is ongoing. We can't say we've closed, because each and every time we think that we are done, we may find some evidence that there is a house that has not been accounted for. But so far, from the exercise that we have done, we've managed to recover quite a number of properties. And I can safely say the committee did well. On the asset register as well, there were some rendezvous that were there, that when they went for the verification, they realized that this had collapsed a long time ago. So this was also a process of cleaning up our register, especially in remote areas where those rendezvous were for patrolmen. But basically, to answer your question, Honorable, we have an asset register, and we've also compared what is on the ground with what is on the asset register. This exercise, we cannot say we are going to have a day when we say we have closed, but we'll continue monitoring and to ensure that everything that belongs to NRZ is well accounted for. The next question that you said, that you asked, is on the properties that we are leasing to third parties. Yes, we have properties that we are leasing to third parties as NRZ. What we have also done, we realized that NRZ has a rich estates portfolio, and we also need to ensure that we also get something out of that estates portfolio to support our operations, especially considering that we are not doing very well on the freight side. We may also take that revenue from estates to support our freight operations and ensure that we stay on our foot. We have zoned our properties. Like if you are in Mbari, for example, everyone in Bari has to pay $1 per square meter, unless if the land is so huge to the extent that we can offer discounts. Anyone who is in security has to pay $2.20 per square meter. So that's what we have done. That's the zoning that we have done. Because we had situations where someone is paying 5 cents, someone is paying $2. So we wanted a situation where we would have everyone paying similar rentals. And anyone who is applying for space would know that this area is zoned this much. Again, it was not an easy process because people were used to pay peanuts. Through that process, we managed to increase our estates portfolio, the lease value, from around 196,000 in 2021 to the current 700,000 US per month. And our collection rate, yes, you talked about the arrears as well. Our collection rate is around 75%. In 1 month, we can get to 80, 85. In 1 month, the minimum that we have gotten so far is about 70% collection rate. So we are also trying to collect. And those who are not collecting, we are also taking the initiative to evict them, to give them notices. If they don't move, we'll then take legal action. That is also assisted those who are not paying to also know that NRZ is no longer accepting such an approach, and it really assisted in terms of us collecting money from our real estate. In Victoria Falls, you also asked about Victoria Falls. The length of the leases, sorry, most of our leases range from 3 years to 5 years. We have recently introduced 3 years because for ease management of the leases. But we also have situations where someone takes land and develops significantly, where they invest a lot of money. Our leases state that when we take back the land, we take together with the improvements at no cost. So in such instances, we can have situations where people can negotiate to have longer leases, but we have never issued leases beyond 8 years, even in such circumstances, unless where we have a situation where someone is intends to build, like someone wants to build a law. In such instances, what we have done is we've realized that if we get rentals, it won't be, we won't get much. So in such instances, we get a portion of the lettable space, about 25% of the lettable space will then be given to NRZ for a period of maybe 20 to 25 years. Then we get the developed area at no cost. So that is what we are doing, and normally such arrangements they require a number of approvals because they will be long term. On Victoria Falls, yes, we have land there. We also have properties that we are leasing out. I wouldn't know the tenants that you are talking of, but yes, we have one that is being leased by Landila Safaris. That one is was supposed to be a joint venture that was signed in 1998. The joint venture company was not doing very well in terms of remitting anything to NRZ. So what we have done is we gave them notice that the JV is terminating, and we are taking back the trading cost. Those are the 3 buildings that are opposite Shewater. So we issued them with a notice, and the case is currently undergoing arbitration. We expect the case to close by before end of November, because we've done the submissions, we've appeared, and we've presented our evidence. Considering that this is still under consideration, I wouldn't give more comments because it will affect public opinion. Normally, cases that are sub judice, we are not expected to comment more because it's considered that you may want to influence the party who is making a decision. But that's where we are. We have taken a bold decision to terminate and take over our property so that we can benefit as an asset from it.
Maybe what's there so then? Who are the owners of Landila Safaris? your partner in the joint venture agreement that he has not performed? And secondly, how much have you received from that joint venture since the time it was created, so that we can determine the potential loss? Because obviously this is a joint venture that is buildings that everyone else sees that those buildings are being utilized, and obviously money being generated on a day-to-day basis. So maybe you can assist us to unmask your partners, because obviously you are in business together, so you must know them.
Thank you, Honorable. Yes, we know the partners. One of the directors is one Mr. Cranswick.
Mr.
Cranswick.
Cranswick.
Yes, Cranswick.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we, from my perusal of the documents, I haven't seen anything that was paid to NRZ. When I joined,
1998.
yes, except for the 4 houses, because when they took over the land, there were some 5 houses that belonged to NRZ that they demolished. They were supposed to construct those houses elsewhere. 4 houses were constructed, 1 is still outstanding. Apart from those, I haven't seen any payment that came to NRZ, unless if I missed it.
Have you followed up? Because if these houses were demolished in 1998, we are in 2024. If they constructed before, have you followed up on the outstanding?
Yes, we have.
But anyway, maybe let's finish on the director, because Mr. Cranswick can't be alone as the director. One other.
I can't still remember the names of it, but
are you sure?
yes.
I must remind you that you are under oath.
Yes, I'm under oath.
So how do you do a joint venture with people that you don't know?
No.
That's why you are not receiving anything from this joint venture, because if you don't know the partners, surely how can you make money from such a land? Because you should know them.
What I know is Mr. Cranswick is the one I know of it. And the other ones I will have to check with her, because he has been the point person that we've been talking to. And one of the directors, I don't know whether he's a shareholder. One of the directors is Mr. I'll then have to check from the phone. Yes, I can't
It's
still
okay.
remember.
You can submit it also on Wednesday. We need the details of these directors on Wednesday, and also a copy of the joint venture agreement. Then you must also submit to us proof that you have been following up before you went for arbitration, particularly following up on the lost revenue, and also this house which was not constructed. In the 4 houses that were constructed, can you confirm that you have effective and full control, and how much are you receiving from leasing them out?
Thank you. The JV agreement, together with the follow-up emails, will be submitted. I can confirm to this house that that is one of the reasons why we then opted for arbitration in terms of the agreement, because we've been on several occasions requesting for financials and also requesting to have board meetings that they were not forthcoming. So
Mr. Cranswick.
Yes. And
that failed to deal with Mr. Cranswick. Mr. Cranswick.
Yeah, that's the reason why they opted for, because initially we wanted engagement, but they were not forthcoming. So after realizing that they were not forthcoming, that's when we then opted for legal action against him.
That is after how many years? 1998 when did you commence your legal activity?
Initially, there was a case that was done in 2016, where they were ordered by the court to provide the financial statements to NRZ. So in 2016, the judgment came out, but they did not abide by the provisions of the judgment.
Mr. Kansui, why is this guy so powerful? He doesn't listen to NRZ, their fellow joint venture partners. He also ignores court orders. Does he know that he is dealing with the public property? This is a property for the public. So how can you have one individual disobeying because and not following up on is that possible?
The fact that it was happening, it means it's possible. So we had board meetings.
The chairperson maybe wants to come in because I think this is a very serious matter.
No, maybe if I can explain, then he can come in. We then had some board meetings until COVID. Then after COVID, when we followed up for board meetings.
Okay, board meetings, 2016, there's a High Court order.
Yes, there's a court order.
Which Mr. Kranz did not.
Yes.
And when did you start having
board meetings? Until around 2020, I think.
So
then we had COVID.
Okay,
and then
let's go slowly.
Yes.
2020, that's when you started. Do you remember your first board meeting after the High Court order? And was the issue of the High Court order discussed? Did you get any financials in that board meeting? Because my understanding or my thinking will be, you go to court, you want to recover money, you have a court order, you force your partners to agree to resume board meetings. So surely during your first board meeting, the main item on the agenda should be the financial. COVID, yes, happened later, but before COVID, the board meetings that you were conducting, did you manage to get the financials, or you were just going there to collect the board fees?
I can confirm that from what I've seen from the what was submitted, what I saw in the files, because I wasn't there by then. I couldn't see any board fees payments that we made from the trading post. Again, the minutes, the financials. What I remember are the financials that we got during the COVID period, and because the shops were closed, there was nothing that was coming. After COVID.
No. When you went to court, there was no COVID.
Yes.
You were going to court because you wanted to see the financials, so that you see how the entities were operating.
Yes.
The financials, yes. So, did you get those ones from 1998 to 2016, or to until the time COVID started? Then there was no rentals coming in. Did you get those ones prior to COVID?
From the records that I saw, I didn't see anything. But again, because there were a lot of changes at NRZ, I maybe thought that I missed the.
So maybe the board shared and now.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair. This matter is very confined to NRZ, and the team with NRZ now is fairly new, and this issue is historical. And when we took over, we actually asserted our weight on the matter. What we've learned is that there were serious governance issues with this joint venture, to the extent that there were no board meetings of trading posts, if any, to the extent that in courts, let me say, the relationship between NRZ and the other partners was toxic. To the extent that when the management was trying to ask for convention of the board, the other parties would refuse. Until such a time, then when we...
Is it Mr. Kansui, when you say the other parties,
Yes, it's
let him answer. He's the one who is talking.
Yeah, in actual fact,
Mr. Cranswick.
Mr. Cranswick personally is the point person as far as the other parties are concerned. And
that point is accepted. But when you go to the board meetings that you went, you surely saw other people besides Mr. Cranswick. Why are you protecting those people? Because you can't have Mr. Cranswick is the point person, then you call for a board meeting, only Mr. Cranswick come. Or did he come alone to the board meeting? According to the records.
Thank you, Honorable. What I'm saying is that we're challenging governance of the joint venture. I'm not briefed of any board meeting which materialized. You know, attempts were made to convene, because most of the issues were supposed to be resolved in the board. But to my information, I'm not briefed that there's any board which ever took place when we applied pressure on this matter. To the extent that when we escalated the pressure, that's when the partners came, a bit soft to say, okay, let's go for arbitration. Because in terms of our strategy, it was very clear that they were going to lose out. And that's when they came over and said, okay, let us talk. And I want to believe that's what the general manager is saying, is now before arbitration. But unless there is a board which was held but I'm not aware of, but I think what he's saying is that there's no platform whatsoever in terms of resolving these issues between NRZ and the other parties. It was fight all over. You know, when I went through the correspondence, they tried to come through me, and it was very clear that they should resolve and agree on all matters which are common cause. And those which are outstanding can be able to be escalated, but they could not take up the challenge. And I think now, as he said, it's now before arbitration, and we intend to conclude this matter and return back our assets.
The board chair does not know of any board meetings. You seem to suggest that there were board meetings before COVID and after COVID. Can you please shed light? And if your answer is going to be yes, there was a board meeting, can you also just inform us who else attended on the side of your partner, apart from Mr. Crunchy?
Thank you very much, Honorable Wendy. Yes, during COVID time, before COVID time, there were board meetings that were held, about 2 or 3 of them. But the attendance were almost zero because the companies were closed then. After COVID, we wrote to them and asked for our board meetings to proceed. But that's when they started to not to be available, not even responding. I even wrote letters to them because I didn't realize that.
So are you suggesting that they were only interested to meet you during COVID because no shop was trading, there was no income, and they were facilitating board meetings during COVID only?
That's what seemed to happen. There were 2 board members. I checked the other name. It's Mr. Gareth Jones. Mr. Gareth Jones. So what I was doing when we were communicating...
Yeah, all Zimbabweans, Gareth Jones.
I wouldn't know if they're Zimbabweans because Mr. Cranswick doesn't normally stay in Zimbabwe. Yeah. So I wrote them. I started writing WhatsApp messages and emails. Then I realized that where we are going, we may need some evidence in future because if they continued like that, we would then want to, we would be left with no option than to take them to court. So that's exactly what we then did. In 2023, we then, when the chairman joined NRZ, we then added him to the correspondence where we were communicating with them, and we also got assistance from him because they wanted to circumvent management, trying to take advantage of that he was new. And he said we should, we cannot meet in the absence of management. We need to resolve these issues because we briefed him. So after that, they then said yes, we can have a meeting. Then we requested for financials. We said we cannot go for a meeting because the purpose of a board meeting is for us to understand the operations of the company. And so we want the financials from the time when the company was formed until now, or at least how the company has been performing even post-COVID. They said it is clear that the company made losses because we had COVID. And I said, this company was formed in 1998, and you made a lot of money. COVID only came in 2020, 2021, for less than 2 years. So you can't say we made a loss. For 25 years we operating, and COVID only affected you for 2 years. So if you don't want to give us financials, there's nothing that we are going to do. We are not going to come for the board meeting because we can only come when we have documents that empower us to make reasonable decisions. And the reason why we said we're not going to attend without financials is because obviously they were going to push certain resolutions once we attend. And because we're a minority shareholder there, we're going to be bound by the resolutions, yet would have been forced to attend without adequate information. So it's part of our submissions at the arbitration that we need financial reports for the period that they were operating. And if we don't get the financial reports, we intend to pursue even the directors and the company secretaries in their individual capacities, so that we account for every cent that was supposed to come.
You don't know how I'm going to trace them. You don't know them. You only know Mr. Cranswick, who stays out of the country.
We know Mr. Cranswick, we know Mr. Jones. And we can still get the details of whoever was behind it from the registrar of companies. So that is our intention. For now, we wanted a court judgment. Once we get a court judgment, then we can concentrate on pursuing whoever is supposed to pay NRZ, what is supposed to be due to it.
But what is supposed to be, what is due?
We cannot ascertain what is due because...
How many, okay, let's do it. How many, you gave them land?
We gave them land.
They destroyed your 4 houses,
yes,
and the 5 houses, and build them elsewhere, right? So yes. 4.
Yes.
How many shops did they construct, which they are now leasing to people?
36.
A total of 36.
36 shops, yes. So what we have done, we have engaged the leases, the lessees. Yes, we have engaged the lessees. We got the rentals that they were paying to
how much are they paying?
They vary from depending on the size, and also some of them, I can say there is no price per square meter per se from our engagement. It seems like the decisions were being made depending on how appealing you have been to the potential, to the leaser, because they vary. Yeah, but
from which amount to what amount?
Some were paying as low as 300 and something. Some were paying around 1.8, 1,800 per shop. So the rentals vary, but with a whole list of everything that was being paid by each tenant. So what we have done is we want them to submit, to be compelled to submit the financials, and then we compare with what we have, so that at least we can see the potential prejudice. In that JV, NRZ is 26%, so it is a minority shareholder.
And what is the size of the land that you gave, and what was the value of that land? And do you know the value of the shops now? And how did you settle for 26%?
Okay, thank you. The size of the land is around 5,000, I think. I'll have to check the actual measurement and then furnish you the information later.
5,000 square meters?
Yes.
Of primary Victoria.
Yes, and the value of the shops, we haven't done evaluation of the shops. Evaluation was not done. And then the value again of the land, depending upon the valuation that I'm talking about. The 26% Like I said, this is a transaction that was concluded in 1998. I've tried to peruse the document to get to appreciate how we ended up with 26%. But it seems like from the documents that are available, this was a negotiated percentage. And it was done on the basis that Langela was going to construct houses, replacement houses for NRZ. And also it was going to fund the construction of the complex. So from the information that is on the file, that's what I got.
But you just explained it to this committee about your policy, in that if someone wants to get land and construct, you insist on getting 25% of the lettable properties, and also you have no agreement that is more than 8 years, and at the end of the agreement, maybe this joint venture, when was it going to end? Was it an open-ended? What were you going to remain with? And all those things, because we have a problem of officials, accounting officers from our entities that negotiate and they negotiate in bad faith, and the end result is that the entities themselves are the ones that then suffer losses, because they are engaging private parties. I don't know whether they follow them later on for kickbacks or what, but most of these joint ventures, a case in point is the Harare City Council that we are in, or every joint venture is a complete failure. They don't realize anything. They transfer land to the entity. After some time, abandons the joint venture. The person remains with the land and so forth. So there's a lot of bad faith in most of our public officers when they are in, which that's why we are pushing through this. But for purposes of time, we would want to have an on-site visit. Can you facilitate that, Mr. Bolchen?
Yes, sure.
So that we can go and continue with this discussion on site. We see the land. We want to see the houses that were constructed, and also so that we can deliberate and see for ourselves on the ground. Then we would want maybe to obviously to have a meeting for the joint venture with your partners, so that we can carry this further. So can you supply us with those documents so that we can then summon you and them, but it may be after the verification visit.
Okay, thank you. Maybe if I can just answer quickly.
We want to assist you to recover your properties as a committee, because these are public properties.
Yes.
And we also understand that these are historical issues, so feel free. We are not accusing anyone. You guys are new. We just want to help NRZ as an entity recover their properties so that you can continue getting the rentals. So relax.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify on the issue of 25% in everything. This policy, we came up with it after realizing that NRZ was not getting anything. So it's a fairly new policy, and board chairman can confirm that we've been vetting vigorously such joint ventures that have such proposals that came. Actually, they are not JVs, they are BOTs. Because we've realized that JVs, it will be very difficult for us, while concentrating on our operations as NRZ, people can overstate the operational costs and everything, and you end up with nothing. So we have revisited all these JVs, and some we have terminated and opted for outright lease. Some will also, like this one, we are terminating the joint venture because we realized that we're not getting anything. And instead, we are opting for this other arrangement, where NRZ will get 25% of lettable space and collect its own land house without it going through this other third party. So we realized that if we lease it as land, we won't get much. So we would rather get lettable space from the BOT arrangement, and after 20 or 25 years, we get back the developed property. It's better than the land that has been lying idle for the past 40 something years. Yeah, so that is a fairly new arrangement that we are pursuing, and it will also assist us in terms of realizing something whilst we are waiting for the BOT arrangement to expire. The houses that were constructed, we are using them as book of quarters for our staff members. What we do when our drivers, our crews are traveling by train, if they get to Victoria Falls late, they have to be booked in houses where they are supposed to rest and also get their meals. So the 4 houses, we're using them as book of quarters for our drivers and crews. They are not being leased out. In the meeting with the joint venture partners, I wouldn't know through Madam Chair. The case is sub judice. We have taken each other to court, and we expect a judgment by end of November. Once we are done, there may not be need for a meeting with them, because if we meet with them now, then it may affect the proceedings at court, because we've already made our submissions, and our submissions are very clear. We are no longer interested in the JV because of what happened, and we intend to recover everything that was supposed to be paid to NRZ after the determination, after the cancellation. We'll go for the assets of the directors.
Your matter is before which court?
It's before arbitrate, in arbitrate.
It's an arbitrate.
Yeah, it's
don't
before
worry
arbitrate.
about the meeting. We are going to call you for the meeting ourselves. So don't worry, we will deal with the legal issues ourselves. That we will call you.
That is what I wanted to thank you.
I just wanted to echo the fact that SOEs, coming from far back, most of the joint ventures, including those with NRZ, you really wonder what was informing. I'm not trying to blame, in succession, we became responsible for whatever we've done. But that's what informs us, in changing the strategy, because the equity approach is abused. Because in most cases, there's a perpetual declaration of losses and no dividend must be declared. And therefore, we are shifting to revenue sharing arrangement, where we expend our interest. So as we consummate the arrangement, we earn our money as we go. So that's exactly the strategy which you are letting at the moment.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, I'm a little bit worried. It seems as if NRZ is getting most of its revenue from rental income. Yet the core mandate, core business of NRZ is mostly to do with transportation of passenger and cargo. And I would want to know the activities, the operations that they are currently doing to ensure that the transporting public is it's easy for members of the public to use the NRZ. I come from a constituency in Chitumbiza, and we have seen members from NRZ. They've come 4 times during groundbreaking ceremony, saying that they want to install a railway line from Chitumbiza, and the citizens are eagerly waiting for that. Do you have any plan, any concrete plan, time-bound plan that maybe will have those operations taking place? Thank you, Madam Chair.
Maybe before they come in, are these documents that you
Yes.
want to submit?
Yes, we want to submit them.
Okay, then you can change that one. Then, Honorable Chair, if I may be excused, we have an inquiry with the Minister of Agriculture starting at 11:30. So maybe we can just continue.
Thank you, GM.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Honorable Story. I've seen such allegations that we are getting money from rental income, and normally they come from people who don't want to be pursued for rentals. But to be honest, NRZ, the income from estates constitutes only about between 8 and 10%, depending on the performance of the organization in a particular month. The rest of our revenue comes from freight operations. We also have still have the passenger side, but this one is through the likes of Rofos and the Blue Train, where we are contributing even towards tourism, because these normally come from South Africa into Zimbabwe up to all the way up to Blawan. Our freight operations, we do quite a lot of tonnage, though not comparable to what we used to do, because of quite a number of factors, including, among others, the collapse of industry, which used to move quite a lot of freight. Talk of Cisco Steel, that used to do 15 trains per day. Cisco Steel, now we can't do even a single train, and the list goes on. So because of that, yes, our freight operations declined significantly in response to what is happening in the industry, and also the need for additional capacity in terms of locomotives and wagons. But we are very much operating on the freight side. In most cases, we move our trains during the night.
Excuse me, I think Rochi wants to intervene.
Sorry, I want to seek the indulgence of the chair to excuse me. I've got a meeting with the speaker in the next 20 minutes. If I can be excused.
It's okay, you can be excused.
Thank you very much.
But in the eyes of the public, you'll find that they can only measure NRZ performance by passenger train. That's why people then seem to think that we are only getting our revenue from the house. But the truth of the matter is almost 90% of our revenue is coming from freight operation. Sorry, Chitumbiza railway line, yes. What we have done is we have engaged quite a number of partners, potential partners who are interested in Chitumbiza line. We have done recently the clearance of the servitude of the line, because there were some developments that were being done along the servitude. And in collaboration with the Ministry of Local Government and Local Authorities, we have managed to issue notices to whoever had encroached in that servitude. We have a few people who have expressed interest in operating it as on a BOT arrangement, the Chitumbiza line. And one of them is a Chinese company that we are also engaging on the other side of rehabilitation of our lines. So that is one of them, but we have quite a number of people who have expressed interest. So ever since we took that route of including it on our BOT projects, we have seen traction in terms of people who are expressing interest in the line, so that they can then come in and operate. I think what Chitumbiza is one of the most viable routes for passenger train because of the population. You are almost guaranteed that your train is going to be full. Thank you, sir.
Do you have a time frame?
We are engaging, and we intend to have this, the engagements and finalization of the deals once we identify the partner within about a year from now. I'm sure it will be done, because we are also engaging with the same company on the freight side.
Can I proceed?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
The Auditor General was not availed with sufficient and appropriate audit evidence to confirm that management had properly accounted for payables. This was due to the status of the accounting records, non-submission of information, material, and then unadjusted audit differences. GM, in your response, you indicated that you will endeavor to clear all unrecoverable debt balances and the unverified credit balances and carry out timely accounting recommendations. The first question is, why had the company not maintained proper accounting records relating to payables? That's question number one. Question number two, what is the current status of the payables? Question number three, as highlighted in your response, what progress has been made in addressing and verifying credit balances? What are the timelines for resolving these issues? Yeah.
Thank you very much for that question. Also, we have prepared the files with answers for comment. So I will hand over to the Chief Finance Officer to answer the question if it pleases the committee and the Chief.
It's okay, you can go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. The observation, and thank you, Honorable Member, for raising that question. The observation on accounts payable in what we experienced during the audit was that while the documentation for accounts payables was available at the time of the audit, but since it was during the time of the COVID-19 pandemic, the challenge was to do with the transmission of the documentation from our offices to the auditors. Otherwise, we want to assure the committee that NRZ maintains records of its accounts payables and accounts receivables, and subsequent to the 2021 audit, you will note that in the 2022 audit, which we've just completed, we managed to avail documentation, all the documentation to the auditors. And what was also missing during the 2021 audit was confirmations by the third parties. For example, the debtors or the creditors. You need to say at year end, you then send out statements to the debtors and the creditors for them to confirm the balances, and if there are queries from either side, then those balances are reconciled until there is agreement on the correct balance. So because of the COVID-19 situation, again, engagements and communication with the debtors and creditors, there was challenges of getting in touch with the debtors and the creditors, and for us to get confirmation from the debtors and creditor. So what was missing at the time also was that part of confirmation from third parties. That's where this observation is arising from. But again, I want to assure the esteemed committee that in the 2022 audit, we managed to get confirmations from the debtors and creditors, and the situation is now normal. Whatever documentation is required by the auditors, we provide in full. Thank you. I hope I answered in full.
Thank you, Chair. I think I'm on that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any more burning questions on this one?
I think it's a guarantee.
All right. There's been some adverse opinion that has been noted by the Auditor General based on the following: opening balances, valuation of property, plant and equipment, intangible assets and investment property, valuation of inventory, misstatement of receivables and revenues, misstatement of payables and expenses, valuation of loans, non-compliance with International Accounting Standard IAS 19, employment benefits. There are some issues that were noted by the Auditor General during the audit in relation to trade and other receivables. The Auditor General was unable to obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence to support accounts receivables reported in the financial statements. There were material unadjusted audit differences. In addition, trade receivables amounting to ZWL 2.6 billion were outstanding for more than 91 days as of December 31, 2021. In your response, you highlighted that you will assess the debt profile and consider writing off prescribed and other irrecoverable debt under litigation. And the questions were: why was the company unable to provide the necessary documentation or explanations? What efforts have been made to collect these outstanding amounts, and why have they been unsuccessful so far? As highlighted in your response, how does debt profiling assist in addressing the management of debt issues and modified audit opinion? Thank you. Since you have already answered, maybe if you have any additions apart from the answer that you have supplied, you can go on.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Chair, and esteemed committee members. The first question on why was the company able to provide the necessary documentation or explanation. Yes, it is covered. I've already covered in my explanation to say the documentation was available, but what was missing was third-party confirmation due to the COVID-19 situation, but subsequent audit for 2022 that has been fully addressed. Then you also, I don't know whether I should also cover you mentioned the basis of the adverse opinion. Okay. You find that NRZ has committed itself to complying with international financial reporting standards. Yeah. NRZ has committed itself to complying with international financial reporting standards. These are standards, accounting standards, which apply to all companies across the globe. And so, some of the basis of the adverse opinion has to do with our own local economic conditions nationally, which then prevent or make it impossible for an individual company to comply with international accounting standards. It has been a usual occurrence since 2019 when we changed it from the US dollar or multi-currency framework to the Zimbabwe dollar trading framework. I'll therefore start with the valuation of property, plant and equipment as an example. Okay.
Chair. Okay. Maybe on a point of order, Honorable Chair. Since they have already submitted the responses, maybe in line with what we have just stated, that if there's any additional information they can give us, but if they are just regurgitating what they have already given us, I think it will not be necessary for them to repeat what they have already given us, unless if they have additional information.
No.
Thank you. And for the other question, Honorable Stolle, if you have any question on the last question.
No further questions, Your Worship.
Okay. So I think for today, we are done. Thank you, GM, thank you, Chief Finance Officer, Mr. Mwashita. Yeah.
Before the GM and the team, I think you need to emphasize that visit. If they can liaise with the clerk. Remember what the chairman said about the visit to the premises.
I think the GM answered on that. When she said the issue is at the courts and
No.
it's not that one.
No, so if I can, thank you, Honorable Chair, Madam. We agreed to the visit and we said to liaise with the relevant office, the committee secretary. Yes, the committee secretary will liaise with them so that we get an appropriate date through the. Normally we write to the Speaker of Parliament, and then liaise directly with the secretary for the committee for the visit. Yes, inviting the committee. So that one we have no issues with. Where we had raised the issue is the issue of the meeting with the joint venture company, where we already have issues before arbitration. That's where we had raised the issues. But on the visit, I think it will be proper for the committee to see the joint venture company and the buildings as well, so that you get an appreciation of what we are talking about. Yes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. You're now excused.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Honorable. Yes.